Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at NuScale power. It is time for another update, and on this chart we are tracking here a 1-2 setup that has formed. Yeah, it could be multiple 1-2 setups, doesn't really matter, because anyway we are going to focus on this area where we are looking for an additional 1-2 setup, where we are looking afterwards to form a very nicely structured third wave to the upside, an impulse in this area. Now, so far, within this movement to the upside, we have been considering mostly this idea, and I do have to say, to mention once, it is possible for this to become just an extension of the larger wave 1, but it's not necessarily something I would focus on at the moment, and even in that case, I would still prefer to find here at least an ABC pattern to develop before we consider this a larger wave 1 complete. Now, internally, within this structure, we have been tracking the correction here in a wave 2, where we had a possible start here of an AB and the C wave to the downside to actually get this moving, to get this correction complete. But it kept forming higher highs and higher lows simultaneously, to the point where we actually had to consider that okay, this may be forming an additional high, maybe an extension within this wave 1 to the upside. It did have room for one, so this could have been a 1, 2, 3, a fourth here, and a fifth wave to complete this pattern. But we were looking for support in an area to create here a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a wave C of the third wave to the upside. But since we failed to hold the support zone area for a correction in a wave 4, we actually broke down pretty quickly, and today we are continuing in this trend. So right now we have to resume to the default interpretation that this was just an overshoot in a wave B, where I am now considering this pattern something like a WXY movement that has occurred to the upside, and in this case I am going to remove everything in the yellow scenario and focus solely on the white interpretation for now, where I won't get too much into the details of this area, but I will explain briefly the idea that this could be just a single 1-2 setup mainly, and then we could be right now in a very strong third wave to the downside. It seems the momentum still seems to be increasing, so it could even be the case that these are continuations of the series in a 1-2 setup, and then only now are we really in the actual third wave to the downside. But if I were to add a count here for such an interpretation, such a basic 5-wave move to the downside that would be developing here in a wave C. Now keep in mind, it doesn't need to develop in this way. It could take many forms. It could end up being an ending diagonal, where this could have been a wave 1 altogether. We could be looking afterwards for a wave 2, and then continue to the downside in a third, fourth, and a fifth. And another option really is that this isn't even an ABC pattern. This could end up being a WXY correction itself, and in that case we would have here an ABC pattern that would be developing to the downside. Now, so far the idea is that we have not managed to reach the area of support for this larger correction in a wave 2 between the $29.4 level all the way down to the $15.6 level. Now, since we haven't managed to reach it yet, and we actually formed a higher high, if we get there, this would end up being an expanded flat correction, wherein we get an overshoot either in a wave B or a wave X, and then in the follow-up wave, we actually reach below the end of the initial wave to the downside. Now, that isn't a problem. Those aren't necessarily uncommon, but it would actually be nice to reach the area of support for the correction here in the wave 2 to actually have the minimum expectations fulfilled for such a pattern. If we fail to do so and we push again to the upside, it could still end up being a different pattern. It's not my preferred interpretation, to be honest. I would like it to get the area of support, and who knows, it may even be able to form new highs to actually start the third wave to the upside without reaching this area. I just find it rather unlikely, and I prefer to wait for the support zones to be reached to also get the benefits of the increased risk-reward ratios that these support zone areas provide, which is mainly why we are tracking them. Now, if this really is developing to the downside in a wave C and in this idea of an impulse that we are tracking here, an ideal target that I would be looking for wave 3 to the downside would be the 138.2% extension. That would be the $30.8 level. Okay, this would be the ideal target for wave 3. But keep in mind, it doesn't need to get there, and it certainly doesn't need to stop there. Now, if it doesn't actually get there, I would find other counts probably more likely. But yeah, a third wave could still work out. But in the idea that this could be a double 1-2-1-2 setup, and then only now, if I actually look internally in this area, I could argue that even at this point, it could be an additional couple of 1-2-1-2 setups maybe, and then this could be a third wave down, and now we could be looking for continuation in a series of 4 or 5 patterns, and yet we may actually get to the area of support, the large area of support in the white scenario, only through this wave 3, and afterwards we would ideally get an additional large wave 4 and a 5th wave to the downside. Now, we won't get too much into other details. I can provide a small area of resistance in this area, although we haven't necessarily bottomed yet. Yeah, we may have, but these developments are still very much ongoing. But if this really is an internal wave 3, the first area of resistance for continuation to the downside that I would be watching out for is between the $35.6 level all the way down, all the way up to the $36.8 level at the 50% retracement. Breaking above the 50% retracement would be actually a pretty good indication that we may have a different count altogether, actually, because this does seem very likely to be the third wave to the downside, and if we don't continue in this trend and we break here directly above the 50% retracement, this could actually very well end up being just some sort of a wave C, developing something like an ABC pattern where we may see a pretty good relief rally to the upside. But yeah, at the moment we have reached the 100% extension, the pressure is still down, the momentum is actually still increasing, so yeah, we are still focusing on lower prices. We only have one first level of divergence with this low, so yeah, probably here we have a third wave complete. But yeah, for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.